concerned about what's happening between Hezbollah and Israel, the intensification of the struggle. What's your take? What's the update?
Well, fear, because the conflict in the Mideast continues to be the lead story on news, on television, in print, and on the radio. And the death count on Monday of this week was horrific, more than double the average of the daily tolls in Gaza, according to the New York Times. And the Israeli Defense Force announced that it hit 1,600 targets in Lebanon, which is an unheard of number. Pardon the landline ringing
No
in the
problem.
background. On Monday, 558 people were killed, many civilians among them, including 25% of that total being women, 94 women and 50 children, the majority being under the age of 18 years. At the same time, Hezbollah fired 250 rockets toward Israel, most of which were intercepted. They have fired 8,000 rockets since October 7th of last year, the beginning of this latest conflict. But 250 rockets versus 1,600 air raids. And 65% of Gaza has been leveled to the ground, 42,000 people killed, the majority of whom are women and children, civilians, and more than 70,000 wounded. One of the concerns is that the conflict between Lebanon and Israel in the north of Israel, which borders Lebanon, could detract from the negotiations about the remaining hostages in Gaza that people around the world would like to see released through some mutually beneficial ceasefire. It's important to recognize that this conflict could escalate into a Mideast war, which could draw the United States, China, and Russia in, not only of suppliers of military munitions, but also in terms of a possible resurgence of the draft, because we've got aircraft carriers, we've got U.S. soldiers in all four branches in the region on standby, and the entire world watching. But it all goes back to the fact that as long as Prime Minister Netanyahu can keep the conflict in the headlines, he stays out of court on corruption and bribery charges that could result in a prison sentence. And we're coming up in a few weeks on 1 year that this conflict, some people are calling it a war, has been taking place between Israel, Hamas, and Hezbollah. And of course, Iran, with 700 million people, an army, an air force, and the financial resources to continue supporting Hezbollah. And the other horrific event, the 400 pagers, the walkie-talkies that have 1 ounce of C4 plastic explosives in them that are being set off, that Israel has acknowledged responsibility for, is like people are wearing landmines and they're being hacked electronically and set off. I think this escalation brings this conflict to another level. It also makes the potential for peace seem like it's farther than it has been in the past. But we're hopeful that common sense will prevail, and the 95% military will be subdued by common sense, and that the two sides can reach an agreement, come to a ceasefire, release the hostages, and de-escalate the military conflict and escalate the discussions toward peace and the resolution of conflict in the Middle East.
I'm on the United Nations page right now, Youssef, and I'll share some of the brief one-paragraph headlines or shorts that they're presenting based on today in their global section. And The first one is a headline saying that the world is at an inflection point, but there is always a way forward. That comment from our President Joe Biden, and the article or the short note says, U.S. President Joe Biden told leaders at the United Nations on Tuesday that with the world at a historic inflection point, our test is to make sure that the forces holding us together are stronger than those that are pulling apart. Another snippet presented in this collection of shorts is one headlined, Trust Ideals Crumbling. That statement from King Abdullah II of Jordan, that says that addressing world leaders at the UN General Assembly, King Abdullah II of Jordan warned that the United Nations is facing an unprecedented crisis, one that threatens its legitimacy and undermines global trust in its moral authority. And then another one, UN headline is UN's Guterres urges global solutions as uncertain world edges towards a powder keg. These are all statements from today, 24th September. Accompanying that is what just about is that the world is locked, he says, in a purgatory of polarity, with a growing number of governments and others feeling entitled to a get out of jail free card. Secretary General Antonio Guterres told the UN General Assembly, which opened its annual high-level meeting on Tuesday. Go ahead, Yusuf. What are you going to say?
The United Nations also estimates that there are 1.5 million people in Gaza who are facing what they categorize as catastrophic hunger and starvation. So, we can't allow the situation in Lebanon to be a distraction from the situation in Gaza. They both are at a critical boiling point.
Well, interested in what you listeners and viewers have to say about this, and what we'd love to do is have you drop a comment in the comments section, but follow up by sending a note to Insight News. We'd love to have letters to our editor that we could share both here and in the newspaper, and you can simply do that by sending something to McFarlaneMedia@gmail. That's the Insight News email address, McFarlaneMedia@gmail.